It's David Harper. You may have seen a title online saying phone companies are banning something for Canadian seniors. That title gets the story exactly backwards. What is actually happening is the opposite. The Canadian government is banning phone companies from charging you certain fees starting this June. This is genuinely good news for your wallet, and I want to walk you through exactly what is changing, what is not changing, and one sneaky workaround that at least 2 major providers have already tried. This is a real confirmed federal rule, not a rumor and not a proposal. It is called Telecom Decision CRT C 2026-43, and it officially took effect on June 12, 2026. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which fees are gone, which charges can still legally appear on your bill, and exactly what to say if your provider tries to charge you something they are no longer allowed to charge. Stay with me, especially if you have a smartphone, a home internet plan, or both, because this could genuinely save you money the next time you switch or adjust your plan. I also want to be upfront that this video covers 2 different things: a genuinely positive consumer protection rule and a separate, smaller concern that appeared shortly afterward. I think both halves matter, and I do not want to oversell the good news without also being honest about the part still worth watching closely. Before we get into it, if you are not subscribed yet, please do it now. This channel exists to translate official rules like this CRTC decision into plain language, so you know exactly what it means for your own phone bill. Hit subscribe. Turn on the bell. It takes 3 seconds, and it means you hear about consumer protections like this one as soon as they take effect. Let me walk you through exactly what this rule does. In plain language, the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, known as the CRTC, regulates phone and internet companies across the country, and it announced this decision on March 12, 2026, with full enforcement beginning June 12, 2026. Starting on that June date, no phone or internet provider in Canada is legally allowed to charge you an activation fee when you sign up for a new plan. They are also no longer allowed to charge you a fee simply for modifying or changing your existing plan, something that used to discourage people from switching to a better deal even with their current provider. And unless your phone itself is still under a financing contract, you can no longer be charged an early cancellation fee simply for leaving your plan. These specific fees had ranged anywhere from $30 to $80 at major carriers, and they existed for one main reason: to make switching providers or plans feel expensive and inconvenient, even when a better deal was available. The CRTC's own stated reasoning was straightforward. These fees were acting as a barrier, preventing Canadians from switching to better offers, and removing them is meant to make the market more competitive and more transparent. This protection applies to individual customers and small business accounts, covering every wireless provider in the country, regardless of size, and it applies to home internet plans from larger providers as well. This decision is also part of a larger pattern. Recent changes to the Telecommunications Act required the CRTC to put new consumer protections in place, and this fee ban is the first in a planned series of decisions addressing those changes. Before finalizing this rule, the CRTC held public consultations and heard from individual Canadians, consumer groups, and the service providers themselves, weighing all of those perspectives before reaching its final decision. Now, just as important as knowing what disappeared is knowing exactly what did not disappear, because a few things genuinely remain unchanged. If you financed, leased, or received a subsidized phone through your plan, the remaining balance owed on that device is completely separate from this fee ban, and you are still responsible for paying it off. Your regular monthly plan charges, data overage fees, and roaming charges when traveling are also completely untouched by this decision. Those continue under your plan's existing terms, and large enterprise business accounts are not covered under this specific decision, although the CRTC has indicated it may consider broadening the rule in future proceedings. Optional products or services that you specifically and explicitly agree to purchase, like a protection plan or an accessory, are also outside the scope of this particular ban. Before switching providers or modifying your own plan, it is worth contacting your current provider directly first to confirm your device balance, if you have one, so you understand the complete financial picture of your decision. Now, here is the part of this story that genuinely deserves your attention more than the rule itself. Within days of this fee ban taking effect, two major Canadian providers, Rogers and Fido, introduced a brand new charge called a device setup charge, priced at around $40. This new charge applies when you purchase or upgrade a phone with assistance from a specialist, whether that happens in a store, over the phone, or through an online chat. Here is why this matters. This new charge appears to occupy almost exactly the same space the band activation fee used to occupy, simply relabeled under a different name. I want to be fair here. This new charge is not necessarily illegal. It may genuinely be structured as a separate, optional service charge for staff assistance, which would place it outside the specific scope of the band fees. But it does illustrate an important lesson about consumer protection rules in general. When one specific fee is banned by name, companies sometimes respond by introducing a new fee under a different name that serves a similar purpose. The practical takeaway is simple. Even with this fee ban in place, always ask directly, before agreeing to anything, whether there is any charge at all for activating, setting up, or modifying your plan or device. Several consumer advocacy groups have already raised public concerns about this exact pattern, and it is reasonable to expect this could become an area the CRTC examines further in future reviews of how providers respond to its rulings. Now, let me give you the practical side of this, because this rule genuinely creates an opportunity worth acting on. If you have been sitting on the same phone or internet plan for years, partly because switching always felt expensive and complicated, that specific barrier is now significantly smaller. Take a few minutes to compare what your current provider charges against competing offers from other companies, since switching no longer carries the same automatic fee penalty it once did. If you decide to switch or modify your plan before agreeing to anything, ask the representative directly. Are there any activation, setup, modification, or cancellation charges associated with this? If you are told there is a charge that sounds like it might simply be the band fee under a new name, specifically reference Telecom Decision CRTC 2026-43 and ask them to explain exactly what the charge covers. If your provider does charge you something you believe falls under this ban, contact them first directly and ask for the charge to be reversed, referencing this same decision. If the provider refuses or does not respond satisfactorily, you can file a complaint directly with the Commission for Complaints for Telecom Television Services, known as the CCTS, which handles exactly this kind of dispute. The CCTS process generally works similarly to other federal dispute resolution services. You explain your situation, provide whatever documentation you have, such as your bill or a record of the conversation, and the CCTS reviews the complaint against the rules the provider is required to follow. Let me bring all of this together into one simple action plan. Step 1. Pull out your most recent phone or internet bill and check whether you are currently being charged anything resembling an activation, modification, or cancellation fee. If your bill is dated after June 12, 2026, those specific charges should not appear. Step 2. If you have been considering switching providers or plans, take this opportunity to genuinely compare your options, since one of the biggest financial barriers to switching has now been removed. Step 3. Before agreeing to any new plan, device upgrade, or modification, ask directly whether any setup, activation, or service charge applies, and get a clear, specific answer before saying yes to anything. And Step 4. If you are charged something you believe is not allowed, contact your provider directly first, referencing Telecom Decision CRTC 2026-43, and escalate to the CCTS if needed. None of these 4 steps require any technical knowledge or special expertise. They simply require knowing your rights under this new rule and being willing to ask a clear, direct question before agreeing to anything. I want to end with this. The real story here is a genuinely positive one. The Canadian government removed a fee structure that, for years, quietly discouraged people from seeking out better phone and internet deals. At the same time, the new device setup charge that appeared just days later is a useful reminder that consumer protection is rarely a single, final action. It usually requires staying a little bit alert, even after a genuine win. If you know a senior who has stayed with the same provider for years simply because switching felt expensive, share this video with them directly. This is exactly the kind of update that could genuinely save them money. And if you do end up calling your provider to ask about switching or to question a charge, take a moment afterward to write down the date, the representative's name if given, and what was said. That simple habit makes any future dispute far easier to resolve. If this video helped you today, please subscribe. I will keep translating rules like this one into plain language and flagging exactly the kind of workaround we discussed today whenever one appears. Thank you for staying with me through all of this. I will see you in the next one.